The world of reality TV has always been filled with drama, but what if the cameras caught something truly shocking? This latest report from the set of Love and Hip Hop is shaking the very foundation of the show. Sources claim that a crew member was physically attacked by none other than Mendeecees Harris, one of the franchise's biggest stars. The details are still coming in. The incident is already causing a massive stir online, with fans and insiders alike questioning what really happened behind the scenes. Was this just an outburst of frustration or something much darker? According to a source close to the production, the altercation unfolded during a heated moment on set. And now, whispers of mistreatment, abusive behavior, and escalating tensions are circulating fast. But that's not all. It seems that this attack is only the tip of the iceberg. As more crew members start to speak out, the narrative surrounding Mendeecees is becoming more complicated by the minute. The drama is far from over, and fans are left wondering how the situation will unfold. Will Mendeecees face repercussions, or is this just another chapter in his tumultuous relationship with the world of reality television? Keep watching as we break down the shocking details of this developing story. It all started like any other day on the set of Love and Hip Hop. The crew was hustling, setting up lights, and preparing for another round of drama-filled filming. But what no one expected was the chaos that would soon erupt. The moment Mendeecees Harris, one of the most well-known stars of the show, allegedly lashed out at a production assistant, the entire set was left shaken. The news quickly spread, leaving fans in disbelief and sparking a heated conversation about what happened behind the scenes. The incident reportedly began after a minor disagreement during a break in filming. The crew member in question, a young production assistant who had been working on the show for a few months, approached Mendeecees with a request to reshoot a particular scene. The assistant had noticed that certain parts of the scene weren't aligning correctly and wanted to address it before moving forward. However, what should have been a simple discussion turned into a major confrontation. Mendeecees, we just need a quick reshoot to fix a couple of things. It won't take long, the assistant allegedly said, trying to keep things professional. But Mendeecees, who had been in a bad mood all day, reportedly snapped. Eyewitnesses recall that his tone immediately shifted from casual to hostile. "I don't need you to tell me how to do my job," he allegedly shouted. "I've been doing this for years, and you're not going to come here and try to tell me what to do." The assistant, taken aback by the sudden anger, tried to explain that it was just part of the process to ensure the scene was perfect. However, Mendeecees wasn't having it. His anger seemed to intensify as he began pacing around, visibly agitated. "You think you can just walk up to me and tell me what to do? You're just some assistant. You don't know anything about what goes on here," he reportedly screamed. The production team was stunned as the situation escalated, with others standing around, unsure of how to intervene. The assistant, attempting to remain calm, tried to back away from the confrontation. "I just want to make sure the scene is good. That's all," the assistant reportedly said, trying to de-escalate the situation. But instead of calming down, Mendeecees apparently became even more enraged. According to sources, he shouted, "You don't talk to me like that. You're nothing compared to me." One of the crew members who witnessed the exchange described the scene as intense. "I've never seen him like this before," the crew member said. "Normally, he's pretty professional, but this time, he just lost it." It didn't take long for things to escalate further. As the argument grew louder, Mendeecees allegedly grabbed the assistant by the arm, yanking them towards him. "I don't need anyone questioning me on this set," he reportedly yelled, ignoring the pleas from surrounding crew members to calm down. "If you have a problem, take it up with someone else. Don't talk to me like that again." The assistant, clearly shaken, tried to pull away, but Mendeecees wasn't letting go. It wasn't until other members of the crew stepped in and physically separated the two that the situation calmed down. Security was called to the scene, and the production was briefly halted. The altercation left the assistant visibly upset, and the set, once full of excitement, was now shrouded in tension. As the dust settled, the production team was left to wonder how this would affect the show. Tensions had been rising on set for some time. Sources say that Mendeecees had been dealing with personal issues, and it was starting to show. His relationship with his family members, his ongoing struggles with the media, and the constant pressure of maintaining his position on the show seemed to have taken a toll on his mental state. However, no one had expected that the pressure would result in such an explosive outburst. What shocked me the most was how sudden it was, one of the crew members shared. He's usually pretty calm, but this time he just snapped. It was like there was a switch that flipped, and all of a sudden, he was a completely different person. The assistant involved in the altercation did not immediately file a formal complaint, but the incident quickly became the subject of gossip around the set. Crew members whispered about what had happened, and some began to wonder whether this was just a one-off incident or a sign of deeper issues with Mendeecees' behavior. As news of the altercation spread, reactions from cast members and fans began to pour in. Some fans were quick to defend Mendeecees, arguing that the pressures of reality TV could cause anyone to snap. Others, however, expressed concern for the crew member involved and questioned whether such behavior should be tolerated on set. What's crazy is how quickly the news spread, a source from the set revealed. People were talking about it all day. Some people defended him, saying that reality TV can be stressful. Others were upset that he would do something like that to a crew member. There were a lot of mixed opinions. Behind the scenes, the production team began to discuss how to handle the situation. Some believed that the incident could be brushed off as a moment of stress and frustration, while others felt that it was indicative of a more serious issue. It was clear that something needed to be done, but no one knew exactly how to proceed. "I'm not sure what the next step is," another insider admitted. "There are a lot of people who feel like this is just part of the job, that we all deal with stress and frustrations. But others feel that this type of behavior can't be ignored. It's a tough situation." As the production resumed, the crew and cast remained on edge. For some, the altercation was a stark reminder of the pressures of being on reality TV, where personal lives and public personas collide and emotions often run high. For others, it was a troubling sign of things to come. While Mendeecees' fate on Love and Hip Hop remains uncertain, the incident has sparked a larger conversation about how reality TV stars are treated on set. What happens when the pressure of fame, personal struggles, and the demands of a show become too much? And how far can a star go before their actions cross the line? With many wondering if the altercation will be addressed by the network, the situation remains in limbo. The crew member involved has remained silent on the matter, but the incident has left a lasting impact on everyone who witnessed it. As the days pass, the question remains, will this altercation be swept under the rug, or will it lead to major consequences for Mendeecees and Love and Hip Hop? The situation following the altercation between Mendeecees Harris and the production assistant quickly turned from a moment of chaos into a full-blown drama. While the production resumed, the incident was far from over. Behind the scenes, the fallout was being felt in a way no one could have predicted. As word of the confrontation spread like wildfire, those close to Mendeecees began to voice their concerns, and the repercussions for everyone involved started to unfold. Immediately after the incident, Mendeecees retreated to his trailer, visibly upset. According to sources on set, he refused to speak to anyone for several hours. His manager, who had been by his side for years, was seen arriving at the set shortly after the altercation. The manager attempted to talk to Mendeecees, but he was reportedly furious and refused to listen. "I can't believe this is happening," he allegedly muttered under his breath. "Why do they always want to make things harder for me? I'm done with this." As the day wore on, tensions remained high. Crew members whispered about the incident in hushed tones, uncertain about the future of the show. Some wondered whether Mendeecees would be removed from Love and Hip Hop altogether, while others feared that the controversy would spill over into a larger scandal. Whatever the outcome, it was clear that this moment had shaken the entire production. Meanwhile, the production assistant who had been at the center of the altercation remained quiet. Sources say that the assistant was visibly shaken by the incident, and although no formal complaint had been filed, they were reportedly considering their options. "It's not easy dealing with something like that," one crew member revealed. Being humiliated in front of your colleagues by someone like Mendeecees is not something you forget easily. It's a tough situation. The incident had left the entire crew wondering what would happen next. Would Mendeecees be able to recover from this moment, or would this mark the beginning of the end for his career on the show? His relationship with the production team was already strained, with many crew members feeling that he had been given too much leeway over the years. Despite his popularity, it was becoming increasingly clear that Mendeecees' behavior was starting to have a negative impact on the set. As the days went on, the production team worked hard to repair the damage caused by the altercation. Behind closed doors, they discussed the possibility of issuing a public statement regarding the incident. However, the decision was complicated by Mendeecees' significant fan base and the fear that his removal from the show could have serious repercussions for Love and Hip Hop. "We're walking a fine line here," one insider shared. "On one hand, Mendeecees is one of our biggest stars. But on the other hand, we can't ignore the fact that he crossed a line. We need to be careful how we handle this." Publicly, the show's producers and cast members remained tight-lipped about the altercation. No one addressed the situation directly, but it was clear that the tension was palpable. Fans, however, weren't so silent. As the news of the altercation leaked onto social media, fans were quick to voice their opinions. Many expressed disbelief that someone as prominent as Mendeecees could act out in such a way, while others defended him, claiming that the pressures of reality TV could drive anyone to their breaking point. "I've been following Love and Hip Hop for years, and I've never seen Mendeecees like this," one fan tweeted. "But the stress of the show can be crazy, so I get it." Others weren't so forgiving. "There's no excuse for putting your hands on someone, no matter what the situation is," another fan tweeted. "The crew is just trying to do their job, and he had no right to act like that. He needs to be held accountable." While the public debate raged on, Mendeecees' inner circle was struggling to come to terms with the fallout. His wife, Mendeecees Harris, who had been through her own share of public scrutiny, was reportedly upset by the incident. According to sources close to the couple, Yandy had been trying to convince Mendeecees to take a step back from the show and focus on his personal life. "She's worried about him," one source revealed. "She knows the pressure he's under, but she's also concerned about how his actions are affecting their family and his career. She's been telling him that maybe it's time to lay low for a while." However, Mendeecees seemed to be in denial. Friends and family who spoke to him during the aftermath reported that he was unwilling to accept responsibility for what had happened. "He just keeps saying it wasn't a big deal," a close friend shared. "He doesn't see why everyone's making such a fuss about it. It's like he doesn't realize how serious this is." While Mendeecees remained in a state of denial, those around him were beginning to see the long-term impact of his actions. The production assistant, though not speaking publicly, was quietly making plans to leave the set. Some crew members reported that the assistant had reached out to a lawyer to discuss the possibility of filing a formal complaint. Although nothing had been confirmed, it was clear that this incident was far from over. Behind the scenes, producers were considering a range of options. Some suggested that Mendeecees be temporarily suspended from filming to allow the situation to cool down, while others felt that a permanent removal from the show was necessary. "He's a big name, but this kind of behavior is unacceptable," one producer stated. "We can't have people acting like this on set. It sets a bad example for the rest of the cast and crew." The network was reportedly in crisis mode, trying to figure out how to handle the situation without damaging the reputation of the show. "It's a tricky situation," a source from the network explained. "We need to address this in a way that doesn't alienate the fans or the cast. But we also have to send a message that this behavior won't be tolerated." As the week went on, the pressure continued to mount. Mendeecees, once considered untouchable, was now facing the very real possibility that his time on Love and Hip Hop could be coming to an end. His future on the show was in jeopardy, and the public scrutiny was only getting worse. Would he be able to salvage his career, or had his outburst irreparably damaged his reputation? Fans and crew alike were waiting to find out what would happen next. As the drama surrounding Mendeecees Harris unfolded, the tension on set continued to rise. With each passing day, rumors swirled, and both the cast and crew found themselves caught in the middle of a public spectacle that they never expected. Behind the scenes, the production team worked tirelessly to contain the fallout, but it became increasingly clear that this situation was quickly spiraling out of control. Mendeecees, still reeling from the altercation, began to feel the pressure from all sides. His personal life was being scrutinized, his professional future was uncertain, and his reputation was hanging by a thread. Despite this, he continued to downplay the severity of the incident, insisting to those around him that it wasn't as big of a deal as everyone was making it out to be. His refusal to acknowledge the gravity of the situation only added to the growing divide between him and those closest to him. Mendeecees Harris, Mendeecees' wife, was visibly shaken by the events. She had been by his side through thick and thin, supporting him during his toughest moments, but this time things felt different. According to those close to her, Yandy was torn between supporting her husband and protecting their family from the damage caused by his actions. Yandy is exhausted, a source revealed. She's always been there for Mendeecees, but this time she's starting to question whether he's taking things too far. She's worried about how this will affect their children, their future, and everything they've built together. Yandy's concerns were not unfounded. As the public backlash against Mendeecees continued to grow, it became clear that his actions had cast a shadow over his family. Fans of the show were torn between defending their favorite reality star and criticizing his behavior. On social media, comments flooded in, with many people demanding that Mendeecees be held accountable for his actions. If this was anyone else, they would have been fired by now, one fan tweeted. But because Mendeecees is a big name, they're letting him get away with it. It's not right. Others, however, were more sympathetic. I get that Mendeecees has his flaws, but reality TV is intense, one fan posted. We don't know what happened behind the scenes. Everyone's quick to judge without knowing the whole story. I still support him. The polarized reactions were a reflection of the larger issue at hand. While some fans were willing to overlook Mendeecees' actions, others felt that his behavior was unacceptable, especially given the power dynamics at play on set. He's a celebrity, and he knows it, one crew member stated. But that doesn't give him the right to treat people poorly. No one should feel unsafe or disrespected, regardless of who they are. The question that lingered in everyone's mind was whether Mendeecees could come back from this scandal. Could he repair his relationship with the crew and his fans, or had he permanently damaged his standing within the love and hip-hop universe? As the days passed, the uncertainty surrounding his future grew more intense. Behind closed doors, producers and network executives began to discuss their options in private meetings. Some believed that Mendeecees should be removed from the show entirely, while others felt that a public apology and a temporary suspension would be enough to salvage his career. The network was grappling with the dilemma of how to handle Mendeecees without alienating his loyal fan base. After all, he was one of the most well-known and beloved stars on the show. But as the pressure mounted, it became increasingly clear that something needed to be done. "We can't ignore this," a producer explained. "Mendeecees is a huge part of the show, but we can't allow this kind of behavior to go unchecked. We need to show that there are consequences for actions like this." The possibility of a permanent exit from love and hip-hop was looming large. If Mendeecees were to be removed, it would send shockwaves through the entire franchise. He had been a central figure on the show for years, and his departure would leave a massive void. Some insiders speculated that the network might try to play the situation for maximum drama, potentially using the fallout to create a storyline for the upcoming season. This could be a huge opportunity for the network to turn this situation into something that benefits them. A source close to the show revealed. They could make it a part of the drama, build it up, and have Mendeecees come back as a redeemed figure. It could work, but it's risky. As these conversations unfolded, the production assistant at the center of the altercation was also facing their own set of challenges. While they had not made a public statement, The assistant was reportedly grappling with the emotional fallout of the incident. Sources say that they felt humiliated and vulnerable after being the target of Mendeecees' outburst. The assistant, who had been working on the show for several seasons, had always kept a low profile, but now they found themselves thrust into the spotlight. It's hard enough being behind the scenes, but now they're the center of this whole mess, one crew member said. They're doing their best to stay out of it, but it's impossible. Everyone's talking about them. In the days that followed, the assistant reportedly met with their lawyer to discuss their options. Although no formal complaints had been filed, they were said to be considering their legal options in the wake of the assault. They're feeling violated, a close friend shared. They didn't expect this kind of treatment. They're trying to figure out what's best for them, but it's a difficult position to be in. As the legal and personal implications of the situation began to unfold, it became clear that the damage caused by Mendeecees' actions extended far beyond the initial confrontation. The entire Love and Hip Hop set was left in turmoil, with many crew members questioning the integrity of the show and its treatment of staff. We all knew it was tough working in this industry, but no one expected it to be this bad, a crew member confessed. We're just trying to do our jobs, and now we're all caught up in this drama. With Mendeecees' future on the line and the production assistant grappling with the aftermath, it seemed as though Love and Hip Hop was facing its own crisis. Would the show be able to recover from this incident, or had the damage already been done? As the tension continued to mount, the question on everyone's mind was whether the show would ever be the same again. The drama surrounding Mendeecees Harris and the alleged assault on a crew member continued to escalate, with new revelations and dramatic twists unfolding on a daily basis. As Love and Hip Hop fans watched from the sidelines, emotions were running high, and the once cohesive group of cast members was now divided, with some defending Mendeecees and others calling for him to take responsibility. Behind the scenes, the production crew found themselves caught in the middle, as the scandal put the entire show at risk. The first few days after the incident were filled with uncertainty. Production was halted briefly as network executives scrambled to figure out the best course of action. The question on everyone's mind was whether Mendeecees would be fired or if he would be allowed to continue his role on the show. The decision was more complicated than anyone had anticipated. On one hand, Mendeecees was a huge part of the Love and Hip Hop brand, with a loyal fan base that had supported him through years of personal and professional struggles. On the other hand, the incident had caused irreparable damage to the show's image, and the network could not afford to ignore it. Sources inside the network reported that there were heated discussions about Mendeecees' future. The situation is very delicate, a source close to the network said. Mendeecees is a big star, but we can't just pretend nothing happened. There's a lot of pressure from the public, from the crew, and from within the network itself. We need to figure out the right way to address this before it gets even worse. With a show that had always thrived on drama and conflict, this was a level of controversy that even Love and Hip Hop had never experienced before. Meanwhile, Mendeecees himself remained defiant. In the face of mounting public outrage, he continued to deny any wrongdoing, insisting that the incident had been blown out of proportion. It was just a misunderstanding, Mendeecees reportedly said to his inner circle. I didn't attack anyone. People are making this into something it's not. However, his refusal to acknowledge the severity of the situation only seemed to make things worse. Fans, who had once been loyal to him, began to question his character. He needs to be held accountable for his actions, one fan tweeted. This isn't just about a moment of anger. This is about showing respect to the people around you. As the public reaction grew more intense, Mendeecees' wife, Yandy Smith Harris, found herself in a difficult position. She had always stood by her husband, even when he faced criticism in the past. However, this time was different. This was not just a minor issue. This was an assault on someone who had been a part of the Love and Hip Hop family. Yandy was reportedly torn between her loyalty to Mendeecees and her concern for the crew member involved. Yandy is struggling, a close friend of hers said. She wants to support her husband, but she can't ignore the fact that this has gone too far. She's always been about family, about doing what's right. But now she's feeling like she's caught in the middle of something that's bigger than just their marriage. While Yandy wrestled with her emotions, the crew member who had been allegedly assaulted remained silent. Despite the growing media frenzy surrounding the incident, the individual had not spoken publicly about what happened. Sources close to the crew member revealed that they were still processing the events and considering their options. "They're devastated by what happened," a friend of the crew member said. "They didn't expect things to get this out of hand. It's hard for them to even talk about it right now. They're just trying to figure out what to do next." There were rumors swirling that the crew member might take legal action, although no official statements had been made. If they did choose to file a lawsuit, it would likely be for emotional distress and to seek compensation for the impact the incident had on their career. They're not looking for revenge, but they do want accountability, a source close to the situation explained. This has affected their mental health, and they're considering their legal options very seriously. The incident had also put the entire Love and Hip Hop production in jeopardy. The cast members were reportedly growing uneasy as they faced questions from the press and from their own fans about their involvement in the drama. Some members of the cast, like Michelle and Jocelyn Hernandez, were quick to speak out, calling for Mendeecees to take responsibility for his actions. "He's been through a lot, but that doesn't give him the right to treat people this way," Michelle said in an interview. "If he really cares about the show, about his fans, he needs to own up to what he did." However, not all cast members were quick to jump on the bandwagon. Some, like Mimi Faust, seemed to be taking a more neutral stance. "I'm not going to speak on something I wasn't there for," Mimi said during a press interview. "I don't know what happened, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. But I will say this, we all need to respect each other, on and off camera. That's the bottom line." As tensions continued to rise behind the scenes, the Love and Hip Hop set became a breeding ground for speculation and whispers. Cast members began to distance themselves from Mendeecees, unsure of how the situation would unfold. "It's awkward," one cast member admitted. "Nobody knows who to talk to, who to trust. People are scared. If this blows over, then great. But if it doesn't, we're all going to be affected by it. The show's not the same anymore." To make matters worse, Mendeecees' alleged actions were not the only drama playing out in the Love and Hip Hop world. The entire franchise was dealing with multiple scandals, each more outrageous than the last. As one source put it, Love and Hip Hop has always been about pushing boundaries, but this is a whole new level. People are questioning whether the show has gone too far. With the pressure mounting and the stakes higher than ever, it was clear that this was no longer just about a reality TV star misbehaving. This was a moment that would change the course of the Love and Hip Hop legacy. The question on everyone's mind was, would Mendeecees be able to survive this scandal, or was this the end of his time in the spotlight? As the days turned into weeks, the drama continued to unfold. Fans were left on the edge of their seats, eagerly awaiting the next twist in the story. Would Mendeecees take responsibility for his actions, or would he continue to deny everything? And would the crew member find a way to move forward, or would this incident forever haunt their career? One thing was for sure, the Love and Hip Hop set would never be the same again. The ripple effects of Mendeecees' actions would be felt for a long time to come, and the future of the show itself hung in the balance. As the controversy surrounding Mendeecees Harris and the alleged assault on the crew member continued to unfold, it became increasingly clear that the fallout was far from over. With Love and Hip Hop facing mounting pressure, both from fans and the media, the future of the show, as well as the careers of those involved, was now hanging in the balance. In the days following the assault, tensions ran high, and everyone involved was forced to reckon with the consequences of their actions. Mendeecees, once a fan favorite, found himself at the center of an ever-growing storm. Despite his initial defiance, refusing to take full responsibility for what happened, the mounting public pressure was starting to get to him. He began to show signs of cracking under the weight of the accusations. The once confident and charismatic reality TV star now seemed defensive and on edge. His social media posts, which had once been full of life and excitement, became increasingly vague and cryptic. Sometimes the truth is harder to accept than the lies. One of his posts read, leaving fans to wonder whether Mendeecees was finally beginning to feel the gravity of the situation. Yandy, ever the supportive wife, stood by Mendeecees during this difficult time. But even she couldn't deny the toll this drama was taking on their relationship. Behind closed doors, Yandy was reportedly struggling with her own emotions. She loves Mendeecees, but she's also a mother and a businesswoman. A close friend of the couple said she wants to do what's best for her family, but she's torn. She knows how important Mendeecees is to the show, but she also knows how wrong his actions were. It's a real battle for her. As the weeks passed, the crew member who had been allegedly assaulted remained out of the public eye. Despite the media frenzy surrounding the incident, they kept their distance, leaving many to speculate about what they were planning to do next. Some sources suggested that the crew member was considering taking legal action, but no official statement had been made. "They've been through so much," a friend of the crew member said. "It's not just about the physical pain. It's the emotional toll it's taken on them. They're trying to figure out the best way to move forward, but it's not easy." As more time passed without any concrete information from the crew member, the media began to shift its focus. Rumors started to circulate that the crew member was negotiating a settlement with the network, possibly in exchange for a public apology from Mendeecees. "I wouldn't be surprised if they settled this privately," one insider speculated. "It's clear that both sides want to move on from this as quickly as possible. But it's also a delicate situation, and nobody wants to make things worse." Meanwhile, the rest of the Love and Hip Hop cast found themselves in a precarious position. They were caught in the middle of the controversy, with some publicly supporting Mendeecees and others distancing themselves from him. "I think it's safe to say that nobody's happy about what happened," one cast member said. "But we're all trying to stay professional. At the end of the day, we have a job to do, and we can't let this overshadow everything else." Despite the growing tensions, the show continued to film. However, it was clear that things were different now. The once chaotic and drama-filled set had become a place of uncertainty and tension. Cast members were no longer engaging with each other as freely as they had before. Some were even worried about their futures on the show, unsure of how the network would handle the fallout from the scandal. "A lot of people are scared," one crew member said. "No one knows what's going to happen next. We're all just waiting for the other shoe to drop." For the network executives, the decision was looming. They had to decide whether or not to keep Mendeecees on the show, or if the scandal would be enough to end his career in reality television. The show was no stranger to drama, but this was a new level of controversy that no one could have predicted. The network is in a tough spot, an industry insider revealed. They can't just let this go. They need to send a message that this kind of behavior won't be tolerated. But they also know how much Mendeecees means to the show. It's going to be a hard decision for them. In the meantime, the fans were left in suspense. Social media was flooded with comments from Love and Hip Hop enthusiasts who were eager for more details about what would happen next. Some fans expressed their support for Mendeecees, while others called for him to be removed from the show. "I've been a fan of Mendeecees for years, but this is too much," one viewer tweeted. "He needs to be held accountable. If he really cares about the show, he should apologize and step away for a while." Others, however, were more sympathetic. "People make mistakes," one fan wrote. "I think we should all wait and see what happens before we jump to conclusions." As the weeks continued to drag on, it became evident that the situation was far from over. The crew member who had been involved in the incident had yet to make a public statement, and Mendeecees was still trying to figure out how to handle the situation. Meanwhile, the rest of the Love and Hip Hop cast was left to pick up the pieces, unsure of what the future would hold for the show. Fans were growing impatient, eager for answers, but the drama seemed to be only escalating. In the midst of all this uncertainty, the production crew was hard at work, trying to salvage what they could of the show. Behind the scenes, there were talks of reworking storylines, editing out certain scenes, and even changing the direction of the show to keep fans engaged. "We're trying to find a way to keep the momentum going," one production member explained. "We know the fans want drama, but we also need to be sensitive to the situation. It's a fine line to walk." Despite the behind-the-scenes efforts to maintain the show's reputation, there was a growing sense that Love and Hip Hop would never be the same. The scandal had rocked the foundation of the show, and the trust between cast members, crew, and fans was beginning to erode. "We're all just trying to hold it together," one cast member admitted, "but who knows how long we can keep this up." As the drama continued to unfold, the question remained: what would happen next? Would Mendeecees be held accountable for his actions? Or would the network choose to look the other way? Would the crew member involved in the incident find a way to move forward? Or would they forever be haunted by what happened? And perhaps most importantly, would Love and Hip Hop ever recover from this scandal? Or had this moment changed the show forever? One thing was certain: the saga of Mendeecees Harris and the crew member would continue to captivate fans, keeping them on the edge of their seats as the drama continued to unfold in real time. The drama surrounding Mendeecees Harris and the alleged assault on the Love and Hip Hop set has left us all speechless. With so many questions still hanging in the air, it's impossible to predict what will happen next. Will Mendeecees face the consequences of his actions? Will the crew member seek justice or try to move past this incident? And how will the Love and Hip Hop franchise survive after this shocking scandal? What do you think? Should Mendeecees be held accountable for what happened? Or do you believe there's more to the story? Do you think this drama will change the direction of the show forever? Or will things eventually return to normal? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let us know what you think is going to happen next. Don't forget to like this video if you want more updates on this ongoing saga, and subscribe to our channel to stay in the loop with all the latest reality TV drama. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the chaos. Stay tuned because, as always, this story is far from over.